Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and I did say that I wanted to wait to see the player numbers before I said we're back. Thrones of Decay released just yesterday and...
we're back, baby!
These are the numbers at around 12:30 PM England time, which is absolutely insane, because we've seen a massive rise in players, pretty much around double the current player base. This is great for a DLC, especially for Warhammer 3, which has had a lot of ups and downs, and there's a few things that we obviously need to talk about. It's starting to look fairly comparable to that of the Chaos Dwarf release, which is one of the best releases so far when it comes to DLCs, not counting the release of Immortal Empires, of course, because that was the official true launch of the game. So, if we look at it, the Chaos Dwarfs peak for the first day, that was launch day, not the weekend, its launch day had a peak of 65,000 players, meaning that its launch day was beaten by Thrones of Decay. Obviously, the Forge of the Chaos Dwarfs release did peak afterwards during said weekend, as it released on a Thursday, and its peak there was 73k, and it looks like we're creeping close to it. Shadows of Change's launch day peak was around 30,000, with its final peak being 34,000. It's not really great, as the Shadows of Change release, this was the original one, would have compared to that of just a really big patch, to be honest. These numbers are important because it shows, one, that this DLC is doing better than expected, we'll talk about that a little bit later, and two, probably the most important thing, voting with your wallet works. The community united during the Shadows of Change drama and told Creative Assembly that what was done is not going to work. DLCs need to be filled out properly if they expect us to pay those inflated prices, and we were expecting more reworks and updates for single player, the mode that gets used the most. Thrones of Decay did that, and yeah, it's very obvious that the players are excited about this once again. So much so that scales skyrocketed last night. It's a bit lower now, as generally when it comes to Total War Warhammer, or Total War in general, the sales skyrocket on day one. I imagine even more so now, since there was no pre-orders whatsoever for the DLCs. But as you can see, this is a screenshot that I took last night, where Total War Warhammer 3 base game, interestingly enough, was actually on the top sellers list, beaten by Grey Zone Warfare, which I believe released around this time, and beating Manalords very slightly now, which is expected. That's no shame to Manalords. They've been out for about a week now. It's an incredible game, by the way. You should play it if you haven't, because it's so cozy, it's great. But the reason why I'm pointing this out is because, well, some people were saying that high player numbers doesn't necessarily mean sales, and that's true. However, seeing the DLC skyrocket, the base game too, and pretty much the general good feeling that Creative Assembly staff seem to be having, well, yesterday and today, morale seems to be very high from the people I speak to, and I speak to a fair amount of people at CA. This seems to be doing very well. We're never really given sales figures. To be honest, I've never asked for them, but they would probably never give it to me. But given the feeling, I imagine that this is going to be as close, or might even get on par to that of the Forge of the Chaos Dwarfs, which is quite important because I know for a fact that the Forge of the Chaos Dwarfs was their best performing DLC. This means two things. One, the apology tour seems to have worked, and Creative Assembly are realizing that yes, they need to provide us player value, which is very important for these types of games. We, as a fanbase, want to actually give them money. It's very obvious, and it's been showcased on the Reddit, on the videos, on the forums, and everything. We just want value for what we're going to give them. Two, it might change the pace for what happens now with Total War Warhammer 3. There have been a lot of rumors that there's only 4, 5, maybe even 6 DLCs left, but a lot of people want more. Of course, this is a setting which is huge, and we want other stuff too. We don't just want Lord packs, we want the introduction of, say, for example, the Dogs of War, and if we can twist their arms enough, maybe Ind, Koresh, Nippon, and a bunch of other things. I firmly believe that those rumors were actually quite true, but when it comes to stuff like this, a roadmap that might have been turned smaller internally because of how sales were going, and obviously Sega stepping in, could in fact be reevaluated and turned bigger, especially as rumors kick in that, yeah, maybe it's going to take a while to get the next historical game, maybe some ones have been changed around, but now that Total War Warhammer 3 is considered profitable again, they can put more resources into it. It's been a weird 2 years with Warhammer 3, especially since there's been so many ups and downs. However, if they do manage to turn this around, it's very likely we could start seeing what we expected from this title, well, pretty much since the beginning. That would obviously rely on a few things. CA have to keep this momentum going, and we'll have to start seeing hotfixes come out soon. However, I'm not too worried about the hotfixes stuff, because generally Creative Assembly have been quite good with that since, well, pretty much Immortal Empires. I'm imagining that we'll get a hotfix either this week or next week for the Thrones of Decay issues. The Immortal Empires map is looking rather full, let's be honest there, but there's a lot of blank spots. We can see that in the Mountains of Morn, in the Darklands, obviously Ind and Koresh, and a few other locations. That stuff can start getting full. That stuff can be opened up too. We know that that was pretty much originally the plan anyway, but that could have been cut short. Creative Assembly might feel confident enough to be able to ask for extensions, and we could see this game lasting to 2027, which is more or less what we were wanting anyway. This could also mean that we might start seeing DLCs a little bit faster. If you do recall, Creative Assembly did say that future DLCs might be a bit smaller, but in the same type of quality. This was in a blog a small while back, and I do imagine that we'd start seeing some returns to 1v1 Lord Packs instead of 1v1v1. If we can start seeing DLCs every 3 months or 4 months, which is pretty much what everyone was expecting anyway, since they did say that we'd get DLCs faster, then we're in for a good time in terms of content and more characters, more units, and just feeling that the game is actually fully finished. I wouldn't also be surprised that if sales do keep up to this standard, if Thrones of Decay is selling as well as expected, we could potentially see Ind and Koresh realized. If the fan outcry is high enough, they will likely look towards it. You guys might not remember, but Cafe was not originally the plan for Warhammer 3. Yeah, it was not even a thought when they started Warhammer 1, and still early into Warhammer 2 it was still not a thing. This was confirmed by ex-Creative Assembly staff who became a little chatty after they left Creative Assembly, either outright confirming it on their personal accounts or through anonymous accounts on Reddit and I think 4chan at one point too. So it is important to state here that if you do still want to see certain characters like Vanquil, like the Chala, like, I don't know, Boob Snakes for Sinesh, it's important to keep vocal. Respectfully, of course. Don't start making demands, but, you know, keep posting about it on the forums, on Reddit, on people's YouTube videos. You know, the bigger creators, Creative Assembly, do check out those videos. I know for a fact because they've told me that they actually watch my videos and sometimes just flat out message me about stuff. There's a few things that are certain though. Firstly, Creative Assembly need to keep up this quality. Patch 5.0 and the DLC in general was great. There's a few bugs, but I imagine again that that's going to get fixed up in coming hotfixes, but they need to keep up this quality in future content drops. This means 5.1 needs to be great and also hopefully have some fixes to campaign alongside maybe a base game rework or two for some smaller factions, you know, giving them the treatment of Karl Franz and Balthazar Gelt and Epidemius too. Not saying a new legendary lord, but hey, Plagues for Skrulk would be nice. Maybe a little update to Queek or Malekith. I'm just throwing out some random names there. These are lords that need some help, but just one or two would be fantastic. They need to keep up with the communication because communication is key. Talking to your fan base is very, very important. Now, I don't imagine that we'll get any news on the roadmap, the new one, anytime soon. I honestly think that we'll probably get some information regarding Pharaoh soon, as literally today, as I'm recording this video, there has been some movement in the Total War Pharaoh section of the Total War Discord, where one of the lead devs started talking again, and that usually means that something is coming for them. I imagine after that we'll get some news for us. And by the way, guys, be respectful. I know that Pharaoh might not be your thing, it's not mine, but it would be nice to just like not throw any toxic stuff to them. Just saying it there, most of you are quite good for that. It's just, you know, let them have their fun whilst we have ours, right? But I'm feeling fairly confident. It's been a while, it's been a long weird 8 months, but it's feeling really good. I can honestly say I'm having a lot of fun doing Total War content, like fully again. There's definitely a lot more to come. I will be live today, by the way, on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges, playing Ungrim Iron Fist, doing a Slayer-only campaign. This is something that I've been dying to do since the DLC was shown to us, so pop by, say hi, let's meme a little bit. If not, have a great day, guys. Let me know what you think here in the comments below, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. If you're new here, might you consider subscribing? It doesn't cost you a thing, it's completely free, and it helps the channel out tremendously. We're getting so close to 100k. I can almost taste it. It'd just be cool to hit that milestone this year. I think it would just be really, really fun. But yeah, have a great day, guys.